Bernie Sanders is back, and he's not satisfied to just accept, I guess, whatever crumbs come workers' way. He feels like, during the periods of American political history where the labor movement was able to make big gains, we have to start with big asks. And he's trying to do that, or at the very least catch us up to many European countries. So we're gonna jump through a few of the suggestions he's made recently that I hope take off. One is that he's calling for a 32-hour work week with no pay cuts, saying it's time to make sure that working people benefit from rapidly increasing technology, not just large corporations that are already doing phenomenally well. So look, this could come in the form of a 4-day work week. It could come in the form of shorter days. If this strikes you as insane and a non-starter, then you probably live and grew up in America. France has a 35-hour work week. Is considering reducing it to 32. Norway and Denmark are at 37 right now. The idea that back when 40 hours was decided on, that we had achieved some sort of cosmically significant perfect number that should never change has always struck me as odd, when it was in fact just a thing that was landed on as a result of ongoing negotiations. The fact that we have a 2-day weekend is not like a necessity that is baked into the fabric of our reality. All of these things can change. And it is a little bit weird that we have had decades and decades and decades of new technology, increased productivity that one would think should lead to extra benefits, and yet haven't. We work, more hours. We don't have an extra weekend day. But you have to bear in mind that it did in fact generate those extra benefits. The extra benefits just didn't go to the workers. But profits are way up. CEOs make way more money than they used to. And so maybe that could just be spread around a little bit. And thankfully, Bernie Sanders pushing for that. What do you think, Brett?
More things like this. Like this is exactly the right rhetorical framing for any ask, period. So often, there's these movements that are like, let me say something that gets your attention but makes you hate me. This doesn't make anyone hate you. Like this is, oh, I too want to work fewer hours for the same amount of money. You would have to be crazy to be against this as a worker, right? You want this. Get this argument out there, get as many people talking about it as possible so that everybody has to come back and start engaging in it. And then you can break out things like, well, I'm more productive due to the technology you're trying to replace me with, and the technology is cheaper, and my ability to take further steps than the technology is higher. So I don't understand why you have a problem with it unless you can show me financially why it's not tenable for you. Because I will also have more time off to be a consumer.
Yeah, exactly. A consumer, also a human. They say constantly that they want people to engage with the economy, sure, but they also talk like anytime there's a social ill, anytime there's a failure of an individual or whatever, you will be told that it's a breakdown of the family, the social fabric, all of that stuff. When exactly are we supposed to maintain or repair the social fabric exactly? People are exhausted when they get home from their incredibly tiring jobs. Maybe a little bit more time spent with family and friends would have untold social benefits. I don't think that's impossible to imagine. And in terms of the economic effect, look, this isn't obviously going to work for every single job in every single industry. The idea of having at least 2 days of the weekend makes sense, except as a waiter, I had to work on the weekends because that's when people are at restaurants. So no one is an absolutist or simplistic when it comes to this, but we can certainly talk about it. And it's not like we don't have data about what the likely effects would be. There have been many experiments across many different countries and in the US that have indicated that productivity can actually go up as a result of cutting hours. Even if that's difficult to imagine, that is what has actually been demonstrated. And by the way, this isn't the only thing he's doing. He's also introducing a bill to raise the federal minimum wage to $17 per hour. Some people might say, well, wait, wasn't it $15 an hour? Well, perhaps at some point it was. There was inflation, and it's also been literally years since that was the thing that people were pushing for. And so again, as 2 weekend days and 40 hours are not cosmically significant, $15 an hour as the minimum wage is also not the answer for the rest of time.
Check out the Damage Report podcast each day, wherever you get your podcasts, whether Pocket Casts or Stitcher or iTunes. You can join me as I give you the news and stories you want, with a range of co-hosts and interview guests jumping in on the fun each day. Again, that's the Damage Report, wherever you get your podcasts. And if you get them at iTunes, don't forget to rate and review. Sometimes I'll read them live on the show.